Just to finish, we also have a situation, because everyone says, when are you going to sign deals? We don't have to sign deals. We could sign 25 deals right now, Howard, if we wanted. We don't have to sign deals. They have to sign deals with us.
Steve Forbes joins me now. It wasn't so much rhetoric. I mean, he was describing what is happening in China. And of course, China, you never trust the statistics coming out of a communist country like China. They're always lying about their stats. But right. Are they really hurting as bad? And won't that force them to the negotiating table?
They want a piece of our market. We don't want a piece of their market. We don't care about their market. They want a piece of our market. So we can just sit down, and I'll do this at some point over the next 2 weeks, and I'll sit with Howard and Scott and with our great vice president, who has done a really good job. We have some good news to report on a lot of fronts. But JD will be there, and Marco, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to put very fair numbers down, and we're going to say, here's what this country, what we want, and congratulations, we have a deal.
Scott Bessent today under oath said we're currently negotiating with 16 of the 17 most important countries. And he'll be meeting with the Chinese this weekend when they all converge in Switzerland. I think dealing with, with all due respect to all these other countries making deals, they're small and relatively unimportant. We're the big player in the field, and everybody knows it. And people would rather do business with us than do business with China because of what Jim just said. They have all these strategies to inflict pain upon you if you don't bend to their will or allow them to break the rules. And so I think when you're dealing with the United States, it's going to take a little bit of time to work out the best deal for us and the best deal for them. But I have a lot of confidence that when push comes to shove and people get right down to it, an alliance, a trading partnership, business dealings with the United States is a heck of a lot better than being reliant on the Chinese because they have seen what they have done to us and everybody else in the world. The decoupling and the isolation of China is a real thing, and, it may be a little painful, but it's necessary. Most significant country.
No,
we are the
Scott,
world's
stop with the
superpower.
jingoism.
Building for some reason exclusively to tell us more about what Wall Street has been waiting for. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us. Now, earlier today, you said that we hadn't had negotiations with China. Now you're 2 days away from getting on a plane, and I know you've been working around the clock. But what changed? What was the catalyst for this?
Well, Laura, we haven't had negotiations. And first, thanks for having me on the show. The world has been coming to the U.S., and China has been the missing piece. I was going to be in Switzerland to negotiate with the Swiss. Turns out the Chinese team is traveling through Europe, and they will be in Switzerland also. So we will meet on Saturday and Sunday. And look, we have shared interest that this isn't sustainable, as I said before, especially on the Chinese side. And, 145%, 125% is the equivalent of an embargo. We don't want to decouple. What we want is fair trade.
Who pays tariffs, Mr. Secretary? No. Answer the questions I asked, please. I only have 5 minutes. Who pays tariffs?
Sorry? Well,
who pays tariffs? Sorry, Mr. Secretary, please.
Excuse me.
The question is very simply, who pays tariffs, Mr. Chairman? I'd like him to answer that question. He wants to answer other questions.
Well, Congressman, if the exporters, they dislike tariffs so much, why wouldn't they? If I think what you're trying to get me to say.
Did you remember the question? I'm not sure you did. Who pays tariffs?
It's a very complicated question.
Reclaiming my time. People pay tariffs, right? Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Reclaiming my time. You clearly aren't going to answer. I'm not going to waste my time having you go, Mr. Secretary, reclaiming.
In a jaw-dropping display of arrogance and ignorance, Wisconsin's Democrat Representative Mark Pocan turned the House floor into a circus, shamelessly interrupting and belittling our rock star and esteemed Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And this pathetic excuse for a congressman had the gall to throw a temper tantrum, whining and reclaiming his time with a sniveling, "I'm not going to waste my time having you go, when Scott Bessent tried to school him, educate, teach him, inform, enlighten him on who really pays tariffs. Pocan didn't just embarrass himself, he dragged the entire Democrat Party into the mud with him, exposing their childish, anti-American antics for all to see. Let's break this down in a simple and easy way for everybody to understand. Tariffs are America's weapon to fight back against countries like China, who've been screwing us for decades with unfair trade deals. Under sleepy Joe Biden, our trade deficit with China ballooned, hitting $419 billion back in 2018 and staying at a disastrous level ever since. That's money stolen from American workers, factories, and communities. Scott Bessent, handpicked by President Trump, is a trade genius working to slap tariffs on cheaters, force fair deals, and bring jobs back to the USA. He's fighting to make America the trade king, not the world's doormat. In an unbelievable display of disrespect, Democrat Representative Mark Pocan of Wisconsin repeatedly interrupts and berates Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on the House floor. In an embarrassing moment for the Democrats, Representative Mark Pocan shreds every ounce of dignity he has left as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent so badly wants to inform and educate this poor excuse for a politician, as he is left speechless by his immature behavior when asked who pays tariffs. And I'm not sure what the point of these exchanges really are, besides attempting to make the highlight reel on TikTok or something. But Scott Bessent not only understands tariffs better than most, he is also negotiating tariffs on behalf of President Trump to bring about a new era of fair trade, balance, and restore America's position as a trade partner and not so much a trade whore getting passed around by all these other countries, specifically China, which has led to such a terribly disastrous trade deficit that's unsustainable and simply just stupid, plain old stupid. Well, that is, if you ask me and other experts.
It was in 2003, Joe. I wrote an article for Fortune actually about the trade deficit. I was worried about it getting too large then because, again, it was getting to be 3% or so of GDP. And it wasn't specific to China at all, but it was just a question of how wise it is to let the trade deficit grow larger and larger. Because when you run when you are in effect buying more from other countries than they're buying from you, you are handing them investment funds. I mean, it's the nature. You give them little pieces of paper and they can convert that into buying. They can buy government bonds. They can buy buildings here. And Japanese bought Pebble Beach in the 1980s when they were running a big surplus. I mean, so you are giving up claim checks on our country, essentially, in exchange for having more consumption now than you're producing in this country. And so I do think that there's levels of trade deficit that bother me. I had some system that did not make it country specific. But I think the world has gotten better and better, and there's no question that countries may try and take advantage in this or that. And we've actually been guilty of that sometimes in the past too. I don't think leaders in other countries, whether China or 100 other countries, are not smart enough to realize that it's in the interest to keep promoting trade. The more we trade over time, and we don't want it to be a question of where we import 20% of our GDP and we export nothing. Now, we could all quit working, and we could hand little pieces of paper to the rest of the world, and they could keep sending us food, and they could send us autos, and they can send us all kinds of things. But eventually they have claims on all our wealth. So we do want to have policies where the overall trade deficit does not get out of hand in relation to GDP. And I've been arguing that for a long time.
And in fact, Warren Buffett is the author of this CNN Money article titled, "America's Growing Trade Deficit is Selling the Nation Out from Under Us. Here's a way to fix the problem, and we need to do it now." And it begins by stating, "I'm about to deliver a warning regarding the U.S. trade deficit and also suggest a remedy for the problem." In the CNN Money article, Warren Buffett warns about the dangers of the U.S.'s growing trade deficit, which he sees as transferring the nation's wealth abroad at an alarming rate. He illustrates this with a metaphor of two islands, Squanderville and Thriftville, where Squandersville reliance on Thriftville exports leads to it selling off its land to pay debts. ultimately losing control to Thriftville. Buffett argues that the U.S. is similarly trading away its assets to sustain a consumption-heavy lifestyle, with foreigners now owning $2.5 trillion more of U.S. assets than the U.S. owns abroad. This deficit, exceeding 4% of GDP, is unsustainable and could lead to economic pain as foreign ownership grows, increasing net investment income outflows. To address this, Buffett proposes a system of import certificates, ICs. Exporters would receive ICs equal to the dollar value of their exports, which importers would need to purchase to bring goods into the U.S., ensuring a trade balance. This would boost U.S. exports by making them more competitive, potentially lowering prices in foreign markets, while increasing the cost of imports, acting as a consumer tax. Unlike traditional tariffs, ICs avoid targeting specific industries or countries, letting the free market determine trade flows. Buffett acknowledges drawbacks like higher prices, but argues alternatives such as a declining dollar or specific tariffs are less effective. He believes ICs could restore trade equilibrium, encourage exporting nations to buy more from the U.S., and halt the erosion of national wealth without sparking trade wars. Now, this wasn't about policy for Pokin, okay? It was a desperate stunt to score cheap points and maybe go viral on TikTok. Meanwhile, Scott Bessent stayed cool as ice, cool as a fan, ready to drop facts and defend Trump's America First vision. The Democrats are terrified because they know Scott Bessent's tariffs will crush their globalist dreams and restore America's greatness. Pokin's just a loudmouth leading the charge for their losing team at the moment. Folks, this is why we fight. So we have to stop these clowns like Pokin and his Democrat pals from wrecking our country even further. Spread the word. And let's keep backing President Trump and Scott Bessent to make America great again.
And they'll either say, great, and they'll start shopping, or they'll say, not good, we're not going to do it. And I said, that's okay, you don't have to shop. Now, we may think, well, they have a right, that maybe we were a little bit wrong, so we'll adjust it. And then you people will say, oh, it's so chaotic. No, we're flexible.
But who made the first call? Like in a dating world, like who makes the first call here today?
There are lots of calls, Laura, is that there isn't a first call. There are a lot of contact points over time.
We are the world superpower.
Let me stop with the jingoism.
Dealing with us is the most important thing.
Stop. Do you think that China can do just as well with the EU? Do you think that China can do just as well with India?
If I were the EU, I would not want to be reliant. And look what's happened to us. They don't want it.
It's not a question of reliance. It's a question on the fact that everybody is cutting deals with each other. We're not cutting deals with anybody.
We have one thing in the news tonight.
No.
You guys keep saying
they're having discussions with each other.
We're in the middle of talking to 16 countries, according to the Treasury Secretary.
According to the Treasury Secretary, we've been hearing from them for over a month that we're on the cusp. Any day now, any day. No, I'm saying that I've been hearing.
He's under oath today.
I'm saying that every deal that we heard about is coming any day now.
How quickly would you be able to cut a trade deal?
I wouldn't. No, let me answer that question. I wouldn't get into this mess in the first place.
I think that's a very good.
You wouldn't try to improve our trading relationship?
No. I would not get into this.
Good to know.
No, Scott, let me tell you something. Kentucky, my friend, you guys import more than any other state in the nation. You want to represent that state in the Senate? You go tell the people of Kentucky why they have to sit there and listen to this nonsense. Their bourbon's about to be tariffed to hell. You guys are about to have no trade with Canada. You're about to lose millions upon tens of millions of dollars just in Ontario province alone with all the stuff that you're not importing there. So why don't you go tell the people of Kentucky?
We have a lot more ahead on the Canada piece of this.
And you I can tell you, they trust the president.
Oh, okay.
They voted for the president, and they're going to let him make the best deals for them.
Well, I think right now they're probably trying to figure out this is what you pay diplomats for, to find a face-saving way to get the ball rolling. So I'm sure there's things behind the scenes that haven't been revealed yet. And in terms of China itself, it's not just the short term. What lessons are going to take in the future, especially on the military side? The military is not very happy with Xi Jinping, so who knows what's going to happen there. So a lot of uncertainties, but the sooner we get this done, because there are literally tens of thousands of small businesses in this country that depend on parts or imports from China. So the faster we get this done, the better. And I'm waiting, as everyone is, get some of these trade deals done on the table so people can see real progress is actually being made. Well, one of the things that I think is scaring China right now is when the EU commissioner was in town a week ago, and he was saying if China tries to dump the stuff that was meant to go to the U.S. on us, we're going to apply the same kind of tariffs that the U.S. is now applying to China, which would mean they would be totally destroyed because they can't. The two largest trading partners they have is the EU, the collective EU, and the United States. Without them, they're sunk.
Well, yes, and this will finally, I think, have a real battle in China. You're going to have the hardliners saying, yeah, we must be autarkic again like we were in Mao's times, can't trust the rest of the world. I think you have some reformers probably lurking there and saying we need to develop our internal economy so we're not so dependent on exports and the property market, which is only now finally maybe reaching bottom, that bubble. Yeah. So maybe reforms come in the future. But in the meantime, we hope they don't try to deflect attention on the disaster by doing something like seizing one of the islands around Taiwan.
All right. China typically loves a long, drawn-out process, as we knew in previous trade negotiations. How do you get them in this situation, without revealing too much, to move at the speed that we know President Trump wants to operate at with this deal, which I imagine will be fairly large?
Well, I think that this is what we're going to do in Switzerland is we've agreed to talk. Then on Saturday and Sunday, we will agree what we're going to talk about. My sense is that this will be about de-escalation, not about the big trade deal. But we've got to de-escalate before we can move forward.
Well, they said that they would not talk unless the reciprocal trade tariff of 100.
All right, let's bring it back home. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent defended Trump's economic approach in a new Wall Street Journal op-ed. He said, quote, in the first 100 days of his presidency, we've laid the groundwork to rebalance global trade, restore America's industrial base. The American people should expect to hear the engine humming during the second half of 2025. With all pistons moving, we're going to see more jobs, more manufacturing, more growth, a more robust national defense, higher wages, lower taxes, less burdensome regulation, cheaper energy, less national debt, and less dependence on China, all while maintaining a strong dollar. Steve, I loved that he ended with a strong dollar, don't you?
Yes, because there are elements in that administration to think, as happened in the Bush 43 administration, that a cheap dollar is a way to get instant trade and boost up the economy. All it does is lead to disasters like we had in 2008 and 2009, inflation.
But we'll sit down and we'll, at some point, in some cases, we'll sign some deals. It's much less important than what I'm talking about. For the most part, we're just going to put down a number and say, this is what you're going to pay to shop. And it's going to be a very fair number. It'll be a low number. We're not looking to hurt countries. We want to help countries. We want to be friendly with countries. But you keep writing about deals. When are we going to sign? When? It's very simple. We're going to say, in some cases, we want you to open up your country. In some cases, we want you to drop your tariffs. I mean, India, as an example, has one of the highest tariffs in the world. We're not going to put up with that. And they've agreed already to drop it. They'll drop it to nothing. They've already agreed. They would have never done that for anybody else but me. So we're going to put down some numbers, and we're going to say our country is open for business. And they're going to come in, and they're going to pay for the privilege of being able to shop in the United States of America. It's very simple.
It's very simple. And it's very simple to call our partner Chapter for your free Medicare help, free Medicare consultation at 270-467-2426. And tell them Kevin sent you. And while you have them on the phone, ask them about your Medicare plan. Ask them if it's the best plan for you, and ask them if there are ways in which you can save money. Or better yet, ask Chapter how to redeem your over-the-counter credits with the Chapter OTC app. The easiest way to redeem your Medicare Advantage OTC benefit and order from home delivered to your door, no out-of-pocket costs. Again, it's simple and it's free. Call our partner Chapter 270-467-2426 or visit them by clicking the link down below in the description or in the pinned comment, askchapter.org/Kevin. That's askchapter.org/KEVIN, or just pick up the phone and dial 270-467-2426.
It's very simple. So I wish they'd keep, stop asking how many deals are you signing this week. Because one day we'll come and we'll give you 100 deals. And they don't have to sign. All they have to do is say, oh, we'll start sending our ships right now to pick up whatever we want or to bring whatever we want. It's very, very simple.
So I hope the rest of the team inside the White House and Treasury Department are listening, and also the Federal Reserve listening, because the Federal Reserve is sat by while the dollar's lost value, and they're meeting, as you mentioned, tomorrow and Wednesday. Are they going to finally realize that their main task is a stable dollar, not trying to manipulate the economy? It didn't work for the Soviet Union. It doesn't work here.
And it helps Americans. Average Americans want to make sure that the dollar they earn today is going to be able to buy them just as much tomorrow or a year from tomorrow as it does now.
And so they have flawed models at the Fed, like prosperity causes inflation. One interest rate they should cut tomorrow but won't is the interest they pay on bank reserves.
Yes.
Right now it's 4.4%, so banks have that money parked there, doing nothing but earning free interest, easy interest. So cut the rate, cut that by 100 basis points and make it clear you want lending big again.
The great Steve Forbes. Steve, thank you so much for being here.
And I think my people haven't made it clear. We will sign some deals, but much bigger than that is we're going to put down the price that people are going to have to pay to shop in the United States. Think of us as a super luxury store, a store that has the goods. You're going to come and you're going to pay a price, and we're going to give you a very good price. We're going to make very good deals, and in some cases we'll adjust. But that's where it is.